Jonathan, just to focus on grazing infrastructure for
Yeah.
robots, there's quite a difference how you set up your farm and how you run it day to day versus your conventional dairy farm and milking twice a day. So you have 3 blocks. Why? I suppose for people looking, why is there 3 grazing blocks?
I suppose it allows for movement of cows throughout the day. Like, the problem is with one robot, you're only milking one cow at a time. You can't have, 30 or 40 or 50 cows come down at one go. So you have to space out the cows. So A, B, C spaces them out throughout the day. Like, you've some cows there now that'll go to A at, we'll say, 2 or 3 a.m. and they might move on to B and C, and you've certain cows that might only go to A maybe a bit later in the day, before 10, and they'll go straight to C then, so they'll skip B. So it just means the cows are a bit more spaced out, and they're getting it incentivizes them to be milked then 3 times a day as well, because there's potentially 3 fresh grazing areas for them. So yeah, that's kind of it.
So what you have here, we can see the yard here in the
Yeah,
bottom
so that's
corner.
just off Google Maps. I didn't buy any.
Yeah.
Well, no, I've Grasstech. I probably should have, but just a screenshot of Google Maps, and I just blew it up myself.
Fine.
So where the robot is and all that now is that area there.
Yes.
And the new yogurt shed, and where we're standing in right now is here. So yeah, we're going up along, and we've ABC, as I said. So yeah, that's kind of.
So is A your largest block, or is it similar to B?
Is similar to B.
Yeah.
I'm actually grazing B4 as kind of an A6 as well at the moment. We're kind of extending on A, so I can kind of graze that as A if I want to, or as B, which is key as well. It's key to flexibility. And B1 can actually be a C paddock as well if I want to. And I think that is key because, if you're tight in one block or whatever, you have the flexibility in another block then. So you need that, all right.
So when, if any of the blocks, will cows eat the most grass?
A.
Why?
Good question. I don't know.
It's a natural part of their life,
it's
their daily cycle, I suppose.
Yeah, like they go out very early in the morning.
Yeah.
And like if you get here at 7 in the morning, out of 70 cows, there's 45 of them at least gone out. So nighttime is busy here, like very busy really. So, and I suppose a lot of that is down to C being very tight. C is only half the amount of grass, so it encourages nighttime movement.
Okay.
So like when they come in to C at 6 in the evening or 8 in the evening, they might only have 2 or 3 hours grazing. They lie down and they move. Right. So there's no set kind of get up and eat a second time in C. Okay.
So your allocation, say, with that break is you give the largest area when they're in A, is that right?
I'm actually nearly going, I suppose, the largest in A, slightly less in B, and then half of that again in C.
Right.
But B is still a good block, like, because there's still a lot of cows going to B.
Okay.
But like you'd adjust it, like, because if you found that cows were kind of hanging on in B too much in the morning when you'd be doing the B, or if there was cows there, you probably say, I've over allocated. Like, you'll find out very quickly if you've over allocated.
So all that allocation piece, were you at that with the conventional system, or did you have to maybe upskill a bit?
Definitely upskill. Like, we weren't really. We were kind of, I think the Lely fellas said we were kind of nearly too nice to our cows. We were allowing them into kind of big paddocks and stuff. So definitely to encourage movement, you have to. But look, the farm management support there were out and helping me along, and that's when I got the stuff from yourselves there, just to go measuring grass properly and knowing exactly what we were in, and then they were giving me a kind of a formula to work out that they're going to have the exact amount of grass for 8 hours, and based on what was there, we'd make out the size of the block then based on what was on the ground. And that basically was key to it. Like, you kind of needed to be doing that.
So you're measuring once a week typically, once a fortnight, or what?
Do you know, I don't measure as much now because first of all, growth has reduced a lot. So I kind of, know that there isn't much there, but you'd kind of just eyeball it a bit. But yeah, I would measure still. Definitely fortnightly, I'd have a quick measure. Yeah. And it's quick with that. Like, look, I don't record it or anything like that, really. I just go out and I measure, and, I don't officially record any measures. But
so I suppose it's fair to say with the ABC system and grazing with robots, you need to be good at grassland management.
It's
and
key
allocation.
to it. It's key to it, yeah.
It's hard to get away without it.
Oh, yeah. Like, forget about, like, a lot of people focus on the robot and the milking and what will the robot do for you and all this. The robot will milk the cows. There's no problem there. but the system will fall apart if the grazing isn't done right.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people focus too much on the robot. They're saying, how are you getting on with the robot? Is the robot working?
It's all
the robot will always milk.
Yeah.
There's no problem there. It's about moving the cows around and not having gangs of cows down.
That's what kills it.
That's what kills it.
Yeah.
And like when you see, and like it did happen to us at the beginning of the grazing season this year. It was our first time going out grazing. As I said, we started last autumn, so we kind of left them inside. But you know, I did have gangs of cows in the morning that hadn't. Well, said there'd be a gang inside and see. And they didn't have a whole lot of grass in there, but I suppose they didn't know either. They didn't know, they hadn't learned what to do. Like, but you'd come here at 6 or 7 in the morning, and there's like 5 or 6 cows gone out to A. So that was tough going, because, you know, you could have over 40 cows there standing in front of the robot, and you know that it's going to take 4 or 5 hours to clear this queue.
Yeah, I've seen that in places.
But look, that really was only for about 2 weeks of grazing. You just get on top of grazing quickly, get them into the right covers. If they're going into covers that are too strong, they'll just feed up on it. It's only bulk to them, and they'll sit down happy out then.
Yeah.
They need to be going into nice leafy grass.
Yeah.
And I suppose managing the feeding that you're giving them the robot then as well, not too
overfeed as well. Yeah,
yeah,
great. Let's have a look at the infrastructure outside.
So yeah, there's our 3 roadways there. So we've A on the outer side, B in the middle, and C.
Okay.
And yeah, this is all that's our, we'll say, our separation area again, now our sick area. So I have the
which way is the weather coming from, Jonathan?
To be coming in this way.
Yeah. Okay, so you have a bit of shelter
Yeah,
here anyway.
yeah, no, there is a bit of shelter there.
Yeah.
And the bit of a banking that we did there as well. Kind of creates a bit more shelter.
Yeah, so I suppose looking at the profile of this, it's a dry area.
Yeah.
Kilbullen is a dry area.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's all this, the rock, I suppose, is here.
Yeah, yeah, no, it is. It's dry, all right. It definitely dries up a lot in the summer there.
Yeah.
As I said, we're kind of struggling with lack of moisture at the moment in the ground. So, so yeah.
So we're looking at the old roadway anyway, which was
so
here.
the old milking parlour down there. They used to come up around here, and just the main roadway up along.
Okay.
And what we did was we split that, and then we put a third one alongside it, or a second roadway to make it 3 roadways then for C.
For C.
So we don't actually have a way to get a tractor up here anymore because of the way we did it.
Yeah.
So we actually have a good few points off the road.
The main road. Yeah.
We've 1, 2, 3, we've 4 points. And then if you're coming to this side, we can come in through that area there. And at the end of each paddock, at the furthest away point there, there's a gap handle to allow a tractor up along.
Yeah.
But we're actually going to change it for next year. Because look, if you were spreading slurry and stuff now in the spring, you don't want to be driving through the field. So we're going to go back to the original roadway here, and we'll put A alongside it in a narrow path. Will be a wide path to allow a tractor through, and then C will be narrow as well.
Okay.
We just didn't want to look. It was all kind of, I suppose, when you're doing a job like this, you focus so much on the building.
Yes.
And the building is done, and then you forget that you've outside to do then as well, and this area. So we kind of just left it really, like, and then when the spring came, we just did it up this way, because I suppose after a year of it, you kind of know better what you want. Then we didn't want to be doing a load of stuff and then over investing and ripping it up. So we've a load of rubble all stored over there. That's all came from digging out the tanks, and that's going to go on the roadway this year.
Yeah.
In the winter time. We hope to kind of raise it up by over a foot.
Yeah. So maybe some people, and you know, obviously there's a lot of debate about how things are set up for robots, but you had your conventional original roadway here.
Yeah.
And some people you've obviously it's split in 3.
Yeah.
And some people might say, look, there's a lot of confusion there with cows passing each other. Will they move? Will they not move? You haven't found that an issue as such.
No, to be fair, and like I know when we were first thinking up of it, people were saying you could maybe do one of the roadways out that way and up by the ditch and kind of keep them apart more. Yeah. But just the way it was easier to do it this way, and
see if it would work.
To be honest, it was the guys from Lely were telling me it will work this way. Yeah. Don't be worried about it at all. So maybe the first couple of weeks when they were outside, you'd have a cow going up and a cow coming down, and they kind of all of a sudden the cow that's supposed to be coming down will turn and follow the cow up. But to be honest, I don't really think it happened any more than a week or 2 out to grazing. So it wasn't a major issue really. Yeah.
What have you seen as an ideal weight, or say that's a manageable weight?
Yeah, I suppose you can go around 6 feet. It's still not, you kind of...
Two cows can pass.
You want to be able to have 2 cows pass. They will pass because there's no one hunting them. So like, obviously if you were hunting a load of cows one way and you're trying to have another lane of traffic coming the other way, it's not going to work out. But here, there's only 1 or 2 coming down and 1 or 2 coming up, so they will pass each other. But look, I suppose in an ideal scenario, have it a decent enough width. But I mean, you don't want to be taking too much of the grazing block away either. But yeah, like around 5 or 6 feet there would be grand.
Okay. So looking at your old paddock wares, did you leave them there?
Yeah, everything is set up as it is.
No need to change?
No, we didn't change anything. No.
And say, would you rip them all out, or are they actually a benefit to have to leave them there? And if they are, what benefit have they?
I would still leave all those paddocks there because I suppose you're still grazing. It's still the same as any other grazing farm. Like you're grazing paddock by paddock. Like, and
are you running a fence line that way?
We'd be running
parallel.
Parallel.
Yeah.
So, and I'm doing back fencing this year, and back fencing has been key because I suppose if you're in a paddock, we'll say now this paddock here is big, but most of the other paddocks, you'd kind of on a normal grazing would say if you were to do 3 grazings in a paddock, that in a normal milking parlour you'd be morning, we'll say evening, and the following morning again.
Yeah.
Whereas those 3 grazings, that's 3 12-hour blocks, but here you're doing 8 hours, so you'd probably get 4 8-hours out of that.
Yeah.
And would say in 8, that's actually 4 days.
It's a long time.
So you'd have regrowth coming back, and if you don't back fence, all that small regrowth will be gone. So I've seen by the time you're coming out of a paddock, the initial 3 or 4 days ago is already really nicely greening up. So the back fencing has been key to...
There's a reward for it.
Yeah, no, there's a bit more work in it, but it's great for growing grass. You'll just grow more grass with it for sure. Like.
So I'll ask you another question then on the allocation. How do you allocate it? Are you doing it on your eye, or is it kind of over time you get experience that, look, I'll put my wire here based on what grass is here?
So I was going exactly what Lely told me at the beginning. So we were kind of saying, I was giving them 3,000 metres squared for 8 hours in A, about 2,500 in B.
Based on the number of cows
Based on it,
yeah.
And that's actually for 70 cows, you'd actually be only allocating for 60 because you'll never have 70 cows in one block.
Yeah.
So that's how I was doing it. And I had an app on my phone that would say you'd draw a line that way and to tell you it is X amount of meters, and then you come out this way, and then you just map it out. And like, that was the best way to do it because when you weren't sure, it was it was going to be, the margin for error was kind of going to be less. But now I'd be able to eye it a bit more. Like, but I still would go to that app every now and again, and I just measure out the area. Like.
Okay, so you have plenty of reels anyway by the sounds of it.
Loads of reels. So like if I was away now, I was in Portugal there a couple of weeks ago, and for the full week I was away, I had all the reels set up. So I had over 20 reels put out, and they're all set up, and all I have to get my parents to do, and my father would take down a reel or move a wire or whatever. But the biggest work is putting them up. But I kind of do that anyway. I set myself up usually 4 or 5 days at least in advance. Like if I'm going putting up reels, I'd put them up for the bones of a week. Like so, then the main work is done. Then you're just moving wires after that.
Back to another key thing. So water. What have you done different in terms of access to water for the cows?
It's probably something we need to look at. To be fair, we don't have an awful lot of water. I suppose. In a lot of paddocks, even in time gone by, there wouldn't have been water in every paddock, and I know we should have, but you'd see cows walking down in the middle of the day to get water down here. There was a big water truck here actually before, and they'd walk back up again, and look, we never really had any issue. They say you should have water in every paddock, but they travel down for water, so look, we didn't, but we do have water. Like we've water obviously at the Robot, and we've water at the edge of A there, we've B and C there, and then we further up along where that cow is there now, there's water trucks up there, and they're kind of on the edge of the roadway slightly, so we don't have anything really in the...
So if you were to invest in water, saying there was improvement needed maybe on a farm, would you put it in the paddock or would you put them on the roadways for robots?
I suppose if they're on roadways, cows could congregate around it and it would stop flow, I'd put it near enough to the end to the gap,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't put it on the roadway. Because you will have a big area like over there now. They congregate there, but I have a big area there for them to congregate.
Restrict.
Yeah, so it doesn't restrict the main. Like if you were to put it on a roadway, I'd make sure that it's a extra wide around it. So just to stop, there'd be issues with cow flow otherwise.
Maybe another point then, say again you've a fixed fence line here, you've gaps at various points, and we've seen in places where people will have a gap between every fence post along a roadway. Is that an advantage or not?
It is an advantage, to be fair.
Yeah.
We have, in certain paddocks, we've 2 gaps, but a lot of them it's only 1, and that's one thing we'll change when we're doing up the roadway. We will change that. It's more advantage in the springtime, really, because you can go into a paddock from multiple points of entry, so you're not poaching gaps and poaching paddocks. That's the biggest plus of it.
Yeah. So it's just 11:30 there in the morning there now, and that cow that's just gone up there, she's going to the B block.
She's going to be, yeah.
Okay, so how long would she typically stay up there for?
She should stay up there now for, I suppose, the next kind of 8 hours. Like, basically the point of her going away from there now is that this evening she won't be in the way for when the ones from A eventually, when the last of the A come down, she won't be in their way. Like, she should come down maybe, it could be 7 or 8 o'clock tonight now.
Okay.
So, maybe in about, I'd be hoping in about 8 or 9 or 10 hours time, kind of.
Yeah.
So yeah, and look, they're all moving very well. We don't have to fetch cows here anymore.
And for people that are fetching cows, from your experience of what you're seeing, say, why are they fetching the cows maybe? What do you think might be going wrong?
They're either feeding them too much in the paddocks, or else the covers aren't right in there either. If the covers are too strong, cows will fill up on it and they'll sit down for the day then.
Right.
So you need them going into nice, 1,000, 1,200 kind of cover, good leafy grass, and not overfeeding in the robot either then.
Yeah.
There should always be a desire to want more energy.
Okay.
And once they have that desire for energy, they'll move. Like a cow isn't going to come out of a field if they have a load of food in front of them.
Yeah.
So
it's a fine balance. So
yeah, no, it is. It takes a while to get it right. But look, as I said, Lely Mitchellstown Farm Management Support, I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have done it without them.
Yeah, they've seen enough of them.
Yeah, and they've seen it go wrong, and they'll tell you you're very close now to going completely wrong here. So, and look, they want you to succeed because they don't want to put robots into places and hear bad stories going around.
Yeah.
They are fully on your side. Like they wanted to succeed. So
yeah.
So yeah, I just went with everything they told me, and everything worked out. So. Even though sometimes you think, I wonder is that the right thing to be doing, but it always was, to be fair.
Okay, great.
So,
Jonathan, thanks for showing us around today.
Yeah.
I suppose you have a very varied story and a very interesting story.
Yeah.
using your job and
Yeah.
the farm and technology, and I suppose selling to the marketplace and adding value. So
Yeah.
I hope it gives maybe inspiration and to other people maybe who are considering it.
Yeah. No, it's definitely doable. It's a lot of hard work, and I suppose especially if you're coming from a background where you've no background in food science or anything like that, but with a lot of hard work and a good idea, you can kind of move forward, and there's opportunities for people for sure.
And no doubt your parents obviously were a great support too, maybe when you started in the kitchen a few years back.
Yeah, for sure.
What was going on, but they could see something.
Wondering what the hell was happening, but no, they were huge support. Yeah, they were delighted to see it pushing forward, and I suppose the end game then was that we had this milking away here then as well, and it all just ties together nicely at the end of it. So
you seem to have had the whole thing in your head in terms of combining the whole lot together.
I suppose I actually did my first drawing for a robot shed, and in 2015. So when I first saw them back then, I said, "Geez, this is some job."
Yeah. Subconsciously, you were building.
Subconsciously, I was actually doing the yogurts and everything for this. This was all to come in as one.
Yeah.
To be honest, if the robots weren't available, I don't know would I have ever started the yogurt business, because that would have meant milking cows full time, which I just didn't want to do. So I always wanted to go down this road.
Yeah.
So
great. Well done, and continued success to you.
Yeah. Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.